Welcome to Pivotal People. Today we are delighted to introduce you to Fulcrum Care's new Managing Director, Becky Garnett Buchma. She's been with us now for 2 months and we want to give you an insight into her new role with us at Fulcrum. Becky, it's really lovely to have you here, our new Managing Director. You've been with us for 2 months. What I want to do is find out a little bit about what you're doing now and then take you back to what brought you to this point in your life. So just tell me a little bit about what you've been doing for us for the last 2 months.
Absolutely. Well, Tina, it's been really exciting to join Fulcrum as MD. So my first few weeks of business, it's been very much about getting to know the team and getting to know a lot of the stakeholders that are involved with Fulcrum, and straight away getting stuck in really, because providers need our support and our help with a range of different issues, and the phone is literally ringing every day with different requests for support. So it can be anything from a mock CQC inspection, which we do an awful lot of, and particularly at the moment with the new single assessment framework. It's really important that providers are aware and alive to the potential challenges of the new framework, and we're very much able to support them with that. We've developed our own assessment tool which mimics CQCs, so that's a really big bit of work that we're doing at the moment with a lot of providers. We also are working closely with lenders and investors during acquisitions and so on, to again give that reassurance of a benchmark of where a service is performing, along with the other sorts of projects we do. So obviously we're well known for turnaround, which is something we do a lot of, and something that the team are absolutely fantastic at. I mean, they really blow me away. They can sort of go into a service and make a difference so quickly, and we've seen some really phenomenal results in terms of helping business owners and providers to turn services around that have really been in a bad place, by sort of going in, supporting the team, giving them the skills that they need, giving them that operational oversight and expertise to really help them deliver the results. So again, that's something that we do a lot of. And alongside that, there's the more bespoke projects that we do. So, we can literally do anything from a light touch supporting clients right the way through to people sort of almost outsourcing their quality function to us, really. And we've got a fabulous team of consultants that are national, so we've got cover England, Wales and Scotland, and with a range of skills. So we've got sort of people who are from an elder care background, people who are very much from a residential and nursing home background, through to people that are in other areas such as LD and autism and more complex areas. We've got lots of people that are various qualifications, so that are perhaps nurses that are ex-inspectors, that have got their registered managers awards. So we've got a really good range of skills, really, and that leads us to be able to support clients in the best way possible, including we can act as NI for clients, we can parachute in an RM on a temporary basis, so it's about that full suite of support for providers.
It is a fascinating company to work for. We're really pleased to have you on board, and we see great things for the future of Fulcrum. Now, what I want to do now is take you right back to the beginning. I want to find out what got you to where you are now. Everybody that we're speaking to on Pivotal People are people at the top of their game, people that are really successful in the business world and in the care industry. And people out there want to know, what brought you here, what got you to this point. So take me back to where you grew up and your schooling and your education. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was lucky to grow up in the countryside, and still very much a country girl at heart. So grew up with sort of surrounded by dogs and ponies, and sort of had a very nice rural sort of childhood. And then sort of as I got older, I started to think about what I'd like to do, and I did a psychology degree, which I really enjoyed. And then my first job was as a support worker in a psychiatric unit, working with young people. That gave me a really good grounding, and I really enjoyed it. And I went from there to a company that did temporary staffing, domiciliary care, and care packages for all sorts of people in the community. And I set up the social care division, and that's how I sort of joined the business. That grew from sort of strength to strength, developed into a complex care offering alongside the domiciliary care offering. And we then essentially grew that business. I eventually became MD after a few years, and then sold that business into a larger care provider who were a specialist complex care provider, where I became a divisional MD and did sort of 3 years in a different environment, so going from sort of SME into a more corporate private equity backed environment, but which gave me lots of great skills and exposure and experience. And I think, you know, I'm lucky enough that, you know, I've been in, as I say, I've been in the care sector since I left university. And I think that, you know, it's a sector that's so incredibly rewarding to work in, and all that experience that I've had of being a provider myself, of running different services, you know, it gives you that insight into what providers go through and what their teams go through as well. And one of the reasons that I really love working for Fulcrum is that, you know, we can make a real difference to providers and their teams. I mean, I think people in the sector work so hard. They're often not paid particularly well, particularly the people on the ground floor delivering care. You know, our healthcare assistants, our support workers, and our carers. You know, they do an amazing job, and they do it because they care and because it's a vocation. And I'm really passionate about sort of looking at how we can make those people feel valued, how we can create positive culture for people to work in that results in great care, but also gives the team a good experience and gives the team that reward that they deserve for everything they put into the sector.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that we want to know is how are you going to lead our team into the future? What do you see the future for Fulcrum Care and how it's going to develop in the future?
I think it's a really exciting sort of time for Fulcrum because we are you know, lucky enough to be well known in the sector for what we do. We've got a great team, and obviously, you know, Tony, our CEO and founder, has you know, had a real impact in the sector, I think, along with Trish and the rest of the team. And I think for me, it's building on that brilliant platform, really. So it's looking at where we can innovate. It's looking at where we can really lead the way in terms of being at the forefront of evidence-based best practice, looking strategically how we can support providers to grow their businesses. So it's more of the same, but just reaching further into the market, really, and certainly looking at you know, complex areas and more high acuity areas and potentially acute as well, you know, so that we can really broaden our reach and give those Fulcrum services to an even wider range of service providers.
Yeah, sounds like an exciting time for Fulcrum going forward.
Yeah, it is. It's really exciting, and I think certainly, you know, we're already making a difference, and the goal and the mission and the vision is just to reach more people, really.
Yeah. Can we just go back to when you were a provider, and if Fulcrum were around, or you'd known about Fulcrum then, how would you have wanted to use them in your industry, in your area?
I think that's such a good question, Tina, because I have actually thought about that since I've joined Fulcrum, and I think really it's having that external pair of eyes. I mean, I was lucky; I had a phenomenal quality team in my last role where I was actually delivering services. They were very strong. We were all good or outstanding. But, you know, it's easy to get caught out, and it's easy for teams to get complacent on little areas. And I think having external oversight and having a critical friend is really, really important, so that you know you've got the benchmark, you know where your service is performing in terms of the regulatory requirements and inspection, in a way that I don't think internal auditing can ever really capture. And I think that's one thing that is hugely beneficial to providers is, you know, we will come in and we'll do it just like CQC. I mean, we can do announced or unannounced, and we will give you a real picture of what's happening in your service so that you can be prepared. And, you know, as a provider, I certainly wanted to know, yes, I wanted to know what was going right, but I also wanted to know what was going wrong, because the reality is no care business is perfect. There's always going to be areas that you might want to look at improving, that you might want to tighten up on, and having a critical friend like Fulcrum just gives you a real sort of oversight of what's happening in your business, and it's unbiased and it's accurate. And I think that's really, really important.
So for you personally, what is it that gives you that passion for our sector?
I think for me, there's just nothing more rewarding than seeing the difference that you can make in people's lives. And I have a story, I do share this quite a lot, so apologies if I've already told you this story. I had a fantastic team that delivered a complex care in the home service, and one of our clients that we looked after had been actually bedbound for 3 years. She was able to verbalise, and her outcome that she really, really wanted to achieve was to go to Costa for a cup of coffee. But this lady couldn't even sit up at this point. So the team was so passionate, and they involved lots of people from the MDT. They came up with a plan, and they worked really closely with the physios, with the OTs. And first step was to get this lady sitting up. Next step was to get her transferring into a chair. And it took several months of hard work, but the team were able to take our client to Costa, and she got to have her coffee. And, that's what it's all about. And she went every week for her Costa coffee. And that sounds like such a small thing, but in that person's life, to go from being stuck in bed to be able to go out into the community and enjoy an activity that she really wanted to do, I think to me that's what it's all about, is making a difference. And being at Fulcrum, we're able to go into lots of different providers and have that impact on the quality of care that's being delivered, and that's what makes the role meaningful.
Absolutely. I think I started my career as a carer. I was always wanting to get to the next level because I always felt that I could make more difference at the next level.
Yeah.
And I'd get colleagues who were carers saying, no, we make the difference, we do the care. The higher up you get in the industry, the more actual impact you have on those people that are receiving the care. And I totally get, why your passion for going up the ladder.
Absolutely. And then I think as well, it's as much about supporting the team and giving and caring for your team as well, because I think that is so important. They give so much. And I think ensuring that they get that care as well from their employer, and feel that they're supported and engaged in the process is also something that is, really, really important.
If I could take you back, Becky, to a 15-year-old girl who's in the country, living in the country, and you could go and see her and give her one piece of advice, what would that be?
I think it would be to follow your heart. And I think to do what you enjoy doing, do what you love, and to be yourself while you're doing it. Because I think that's the other thing. I think, being authentic as a leader is really important. So it's important that we are ourselves, and that the people in our team can be themselves as well.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And thanks very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Tina.